everybody, and welcome to GenFriends. I'm your host, Cheri Hudson Passey from Carolina Girl Genealogy. And with me tonight is this fabulous panel. We've got Mary Kircher Roddy from MKR Genealogy. Hello, Mary.
Hi there.
I'm glad you're here. We've got Jenny Hawran from Like Herding Cats Genealogy. Hello, Jenny.
Hello, hello. Happy to be here.
I'm glad you're here too. And we've got Laura Hedgecock from Treasure Chest of Memories. Hello, Laura.
Hello.
Okay, y'all, I have to start this off by just saying I feel so weird about this because this this edition of Gen Friends is my panel saying we have to do this and to talk about this book. I don't know if you can see it. This very short little
Okay.
guide. There we go.
There you go, right there.
There
Perfect.
we go. Guide to, it's called Genealogy in Reverse, Finding the Living. I'm so nervous I have to read my own book so I get it right. A practical guide for all genealogists. Anyway, so this was published, and I found out that it was actually published at NGS. They told me it's coming out, and June 6th, and I was flabbergasted. I mean, I wrote the book, but it's so bizarre to have your name on something. It's the first time ever. Yeah. So anyway, they said, well, you've done everybody else's stuff, so we need to do yours. So
We have questions. We have
Yes.
they have
questions.
questions. They have questions, and I'm nervous.
Who wants to go
Why?
first? Mary?
Okay, so tell us about how you wrote this book. I mean, what was did you
Okay.
just write it because you wanted to, or did someone ask you to write the book, or just
So
how did it come about?
I've got a presentation with the same title. Well, it's Genealogy in Reverse, Finding Living Family. And I've given it several different places, and I'd given it at Roots Tech a couple of years ago. And then I received an email saying, we watched your video because you can still watch it on the Roots Tech webpage. Anyway, because it was live streamed that day. And he said, we're interested in you putting a book together based on your presentation. And I was like, huh? You what? You want me
You've
to
done all the research.
you want me to do what? And so, and the book is based on what I do as I do repatriation work for the U.S. Army, meaning I get cases uh, for the Army for our missing soldiers, and my goal is to find their living relatives. I need to find the next of kin, and I need to find people who will do DNA. But it's what we all do when we are looking for. We all need help with living people, cousins, and people for DNA tests, people who might have the family Bible, people who might have stories that we don't have, or different versions of the story that we have. So they asked me to put this book together, and I did, and so I'm hoping people can use it as a methodology to find their own people when they're looking for living relatives.
Did they give
It-
you guidelines of how they wanted you to structure it, or was it just go for it?
Well, they first asked me for the outline of my presentation, and they wanted me to kind of follow along with the outline of my presentation. So I
Mhm.
kind of sort of did that, but expanded a little bit. And with anything, once you're done and you see it in print, you're always like, well, I can maybe there'll be a second edition. I can extend it somehow, or I can, because I've never written a book before.
It's exciting. It's
it's
exciting, though.
very cool.
It really is exciting. And you can, because especially on the ebook versions, like
Yeah.
it's very easy for them to like do a second and like
Uh-huh.
maybe in 5 years there's
Yeah.
different websites that you'd
Of course.
recommend.
Yeah, and different ways to do things in five
So
years,
you don't so you don't have
Yeah.
to rewrite it, but you can
Yeah.
update it.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So
I had a bunch of questions after I read it, and I don't want to give away too much that's in there, but so I'm hoping that, maybe you can focus on a
Okay.
couple of tips to give. But um, there's just one tip that you gave that just blew my mind, and I've never thought of it before. Can I say it?
Sure. Sure.
yes. I said yes.
Searching for people with a surname plus family reunion and
Yeah,
doing a search on YouTube or
sure.
Flickr. I'm
Yeah,
like, that is
yeah.
so logical. I mean, have you found people that way?
Yes, yes,
Wow.
yes, because people will do that and they'll upload the video and they'll keep it public. I think they probably wanted to keep it private, but couldn't figure out how to how to keep that link just for their family. I don't know. But yeah, it's amazing what people put online that you can find.
What a
Um,
great tip. Great
yeah,
tip.
and so there's so many things that, and that's why I thought the book would be fun because it just throws a bunch of different ideas, and other people may have different ideas and how they have, go through the workflow. But these are just tips and things that I've done, and so I would love to hear from other people about, things that they've done to find living people. So but I just wrote it based on what I've done and what has worked and what's helped me find my own family, what's helped me find soldiers' families. Um, I get questions all the time about how did you find me
Hmm.
when I make phone calls, how did you find me? And so I'm like, we got some tips and tricks.
What I liked was that you have tips and tricks on making the phone calls or sending the emails, because I think that's probably the hardest, for me at least. It's the hardest one because you figure you got a lot of cases one shot for them not to think you're like,
Exactly.
uh, now you're doing this with repatriation with kind
Mhm.
of like the US military
Oh, but
behind
people
you.
still think it's spam. They still will think I'm after money or, something like that, or it's, some kind of spam thing and they won't call me back. And so, a lot of times though, if I get a hold of somebody who's an ex-wife or an ex-husband, they want to tell me everything because they think that person's in trouble. So
Uh,
they will just spill the beans. And I'm like, no, seriously, this is not anything that's going to get anybody in trouble. Just looking to be able to find people to help, with the DNA or any, or, even if it's just regular client work, just finding, or my own work, finding people that can help me out and have maybe letters or photos or whatever, a Bible, or I have found somebody who had a ring, just all sorts of things are out there. We just need to learn how to find them. And it's just, I think it's basic knowledge that we know what to do, but sometimes we just don't work it through a methodology of how to do it and where to go from there.
do
I
you
got a
oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Mary. Sorry.
I was just going to say, you were talking about Bibles. I
Mhm.
found a living one that had a family Bible,
Yeah,
and he was willing to send it to me, which was really
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Um, so I have no um, problem with him. What I do have a problem with is my great great grandfather, who did not bother to write one word in that darn Bible. You would He, I guess, was of
Yeah.
the school that you don't make marks in books. And so there's
Yes.
nothing in there.
Oh
So anyway, John
gosh.
Fields, I'm calling you out, but I appreciate I appreciate the man who had it sending it.
Exactly, exactly. At least he did it. Yeah, some people are more than willing to share. And you don't have to say, could you send me stuff? You could ask for copies. You're just trying to make those connections so that you can work with people, share what you have with people, and like I say, you need to share as well. Don't be one of these people that it's like, you've got to send me everything, but I'm not sending you a thing. I'm not gonna share with you what I know. And there are people that are like that. So I think we've all run into them.
Can I
Yeah.
just tag on that?
Sure.
As genealogists, um, we know more about most people's families than they do, because that's what we do. And
Exactly.
we have a gift to share.
Yes.
So, one of the things, it took me a lot of years of what I call begging a live one
Yeah.
to realize that, um, when I first did it, I wanted something,
Hmm.
and I realized through the process, I have something to give to
Exactly.
people. So
Exactly.
don't be afraid to reach out.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's very good advice, Mary.
Laura, did I see your hand up? I don't want to step on you if you had a question.
No, go ahead.
No, because this popped in my head, but just in your specific case, Cheri, what's the end result of, so you're looking for these documents to find these living people, and then when does it get to a point where you hand it over and say, okay, this is as far as I can go, or I hit a brick wall, or what? I'm
You
kind of
mean
curious about that.
you mean with the soldiers?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
well, yeah. So my task is to find, I've got to determine who the next of kin would be for the soldier.
Mhm.
And sometimes it could be a first cousin 3 times removed because of the time frame. It depends on the size of the family. And so I just got a phone call today. I found a son that was still living. And so he called me today and left a message. So that's my first to do in the morning is to call him back. How wonderful is that? And it's rare because these are World War II people that I'm working on. And so most of them, their brothers and sisters are long gone. And if they had children before they left, they're gone. And so I'm looking for the next of kin, and then I'm looking for people who are in their family tree who could give DNA. We need maternal DNA and the paternal DNA. And so I have to just find them. And of course, with those people, it's really nice when the DNA and the next of kin works out the same. But sometimes the next of kin, because of where they fit in the tree, they can't give any DNA. And then I got to keep looking. So I just keep looking. And then I look and find as much information I can on them to try to find where they live so I can call them and send them a
Give
letter.
us an example of
Okay.
when the next of kin
Mm-hmm.
is not as closely related or is not a descendant.
Okay.
So my brain
Yeah.
can work that out. Give us an example.
Right. Well, sometimes the next of kin is they're they're not from the maternal line that I can get they can get the mtDNA from, and they're not a direct Y DNA descendant. So they're
Okay.
just they're just not DNA eligible because of where they fit in the line. And so the Army's got this chart that we go through, and it shows us this is this person. You can get DNA from them. We can get DNA from this person, and you just end up learning. And Mary's much better with DNA than I am. I use my chart so that I know if somebody. Well, for instance, if it's a descendant of, say, the soldier's sister, but it's 2 or 3 generations down and it's a male, they can't give any DNA. They can't, the
Oh,
maternal
okay.
DNA is not passed down through the male line. The first male son has maternal DNA, but he can't pass it down. So depending on how far down the line you go, after I go through that one guy, if he's passed away, but he had a son, the son's the next of kin, but he can't give DNA. Does that make sense? And so he might be the next of kin, but he can't help out with the DNA. And so then I've got to find somebody else. And there are times that I have to go so far up the tree. I have to go up to, third and fourth grandparents and come back down the tree looking for anybody that can even be DNA potentials because of that. And then there are times when their lines come from overseas and I have to say, look, if you want to hire somebody to go to Germany, or if you want to hire somebody to go to Ireland, or if to do DNA, we'll do that. But in those cases, they usually just say, we understand we're not going to be able to get that DNA. And that's hard. And so then I just send out letters and emails and whatever way I can find to connect with them, social media, whatever it might be, and see if I can make a connection. And then they just have to tell me, yeah, you found the right person. This is my family, and you've got permission to send my information to the Army. And then I just write a report and send it to the Army. And so
So
that's
how do most people feel? I mean, most people are aware that they've lost a soldier in the family, I gather.
depending on how far down the line it is. Some do, and some had no idea. Because again, people
Okay.
don't pass down stories, right? And
Mhm.
so if it's several generations away, a lot of them don't even know.
Okay.
Although I did have somebody a couple of years ago who was several generations down the line, and he said, "I've got the Purple Heart." And I was like, "Oh my
Oh my
gosh,
goodness.
that was wonderful." And I think the best phone call I've ever made was to a daughter, and she said, "Thank you for contacting me." Because I mean, I cold called her, and she picked up the phone. She was planning her 86th birthday with her daughter that day, and I was able to explain to her why I was calling her. So the Army
Wow.
had opened a case on her father, and she said, "This is the best birthday present I've ever received."
Oh,
Oh
So,
my
that's so
gosh.
great.
but the thing
That's so
is,
great.
there's no way. The letters very specifically say to them, "We're not telling you that we have actually found remains," because they don't know until they start doing some DNA testing. They don't know if this is the right person or not. So,
So
but
the
Oh,
Army
okay.
thinks they have found remains of a particular person,
they have
but they're
opened
not.
up a case for some reason, is all that, is all that I can say, is for some reason they have opened up a case um, on your loved one, and so, or a member of your family.
Are
You know
they
what?
all
Uh, Go ahead, Mary.
are they all World War II
Yes, the ones
remains
I work
cases?
on, they're all World War II.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've had them from all, from the Pacific, from Italy, from, Europe, from all over the place. So Philippines, all over the place.
You know who else as I was reading it, I said this book is going to appeal so greatly with adoptees or
Oh,
NPEs
yeah.
who are searching for their families, as part of their research. Because when I was reading some of the tips and ideas, I kind of was chuckling to myself. I said, well, yeah, being an NPE and trying
Mhm.
to not necessarily connect and find that person, but learn about, just kind of behind the scenes of a biological family.
Mhm.
And a lot of the tips that that you gave would be really helpful for people to kind of fill in who they are
Oh, I
before
love
they're ready
that.
to maybe go that next step of
Ah,
making a connection.
right.
So I just think that it was just there were so many really good ideas that are like you said, people you think logically would know some of these ideas, but if you don't think it through all the way through, and that's the great thing that you had it all like lined out, and it's like, oh yeah, so I got some good ideas
Thank you.
to
I'm
keep
glad.
looking.
Thank you, Jenny.
It's going to be very helpful to me.
So, and it's not just Jeannie. I was telling Sherry at NGS, my current finding a live one. I don't know why I just got this bug, but when I was in fifth grade, my best friend moved away.
Oh,
And
yes.
on and off, I tried, her name's pretty Sally Moore. I mean, it's not that, you know,
Okay, Sally Moore, if you're
distinctive.
listening, Laura's looking for you.
Laura found you, but she's afraid to
She's
write you because
afraid
she
to
thinks you're
contact
Aw.
just
you.
think
That's
of a
right. She's
freak.
afraid to contact you.
Because I found her. Um, and yeah, but it's like, how to write that letter? Like, hi, this is Laura, your old friend, and this isn't, I'm not as much as a freak as this sounds like I might be because I do genealogy and we're all kind of freaks this way. So any tips would be appreciated.
That's so funny. That's so
Yeah, I
funny. I
just
mean,
think just, be honest about what you're looking for and why. And, that's about all you can do.
Yeah,
We
I
just
just want to know how she's doing. I think about,
exactly. How are you? You don't even have to say you did all this research process to find her. Just write her a letter, just like you had just written her 2 months ago?
And
Just
she
write
would
her.
find it very flattering that someone
Exactly.
remembered her fondly and wants to see how she's doing.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. So go for it.
oh, I
do
will.
you
I'm going to go for it.
do you have
I,
like the bug now? Do you want to write another one now? Another
Oh,
book?
I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question because I'm nervous enough about this one. And I was telling people it's like imposter syndrome. I just feel like people are going to read it and go, "Oh, yeah, you made a mistake here.
No. no.
all that kind of stuff, or you should have done this, or you should have done that. I think it's, especially when you've never done something like this before, it's just strange. And like I was telling you before we came on, that not only can you find it at the genealogical publishing company, but they've put it on Amazon. And so I've never gone to Amazon and typed in my name to find anything before. So that was weird.
That's cool. That's cool.
That's
No,
very cool.
It is
but
cool.
these is your experience of what works. So
Mhm.
there's no imposter syndrome going on. It shouldn't be, because this is what tried and true, you
Is
have
what I've
done.
done and
And
what
so,
works
yeah,
what I've found that works.
yeah,
And it's like any genealogy methodology book that you're going to read, or article, or webinar. People do things in different ways. And there are probably a lot of people out there that do this, but they do it in a different way. And that's okay. And that's okay.
mhm,
So I'm hoping that we can all learn from each other,
absolutely.
and yeah. And so that's
Yeah,
why,
and the way it
yeah.
works in nonfiction too is like the people that buy nonfiction on a certain subject are generally not new to it. And
Mm,
it's like what we're like when we go to a presentation. We want to find a few things that we
that's
don't
right.
know. It's not
Exactly.
like everything in there is going to be news to us. So
Right. Right.
I think you should relax because people that
I
want to
get
buy the book, they're familiar with they're familiar with what ancestry.com is,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah.
don't know all these other sites and tricks and tips that you're giving them.
Yeah. I hope.
So
I hope. So,
And just putting it out there, how valuable a technique this
yeah.
is really going to be very helpful for
Yeah.
people.
I hope so.
yeah,
I hope so
yeah.
too. I hope so too. So, um, anybody else have any questions? Like I said, I feel so weird doing this.
Yeah. No,
So if
I
you,
just think you should be so proud of it. Oh, go ahead, Laura.
oh, I was just going to say, if you weren't doing it for repatriation, if you were contacting people because you want to figure out if they're really related to you, or you
Mhm.
want to help figuring things out for your
Sure.
personal, would you start with a phone call or would you start with an email?
I
And
think probably I would start with an email or a letter. And the reason I'm saying this is because people are afraid. They don't pick up their phones anymore. It's very rare that I can cold call people and get somebody to answer the phone. If I have sent a letter, if I've kind of warned them that I need to get in touch with them and they've read through what I'm doing, I have a much better chance of maybe leaving a message and just saying, I sent you this letter. This is what I'm looking for. And explaining myself, I get a better chance of them calling me back. I'm finding that people don't have voicemail, or voicemail that lets you know if you've even got the right number. And
Mhm.
so, that's difficult. It's really nice though when you have your voicemail saying, "Hey, you've reached." I'm like, "Ka-ching, I found the right person."
Yeah,
Yeah, I know
yeah.
maybe probably
we
feel
just
the
took
same
that off
way.
of ours.
Yeah. Yeah. That way nobody knows, right? And so I think I would always start with writing a letter, whether it's a typed or a personal handwritten letter or whatever it may be, just to help them understand who you are, what you're looking for. You're just trying to find living family for, whatever reason may be, for DNA, for to see if they can help you, if you can work together to build your tree, finding those documents and letting them know that you're willing to share, especially if you're doing it um, to work together to build the family tree, to see what they may have. Let them know that you're willing to share the things that you found, so that you can work together and go back more generations if it's possible, or to be able to understand the family better. I think is a good thing to put on there too. I know a lot of people are nervous about DNA. And so I don't know if I want to get into that DNA stuff. I've heard a lot of times,
Mm,
they
mhm.
don't, they're not trusting, especially with things end up in the news about DNA. And so
Right.
that can be kind of difficult as well. And so I really do think that starting off with a letter to let people know you're going, what's your need. And still, sometimes I will call them and they've read the letter and they'll go, oh, I don't want to have anything to do with this. And they just hang up on me. And I'm like, oh. And then sometimes you can tell that one person in the family has called everybody else and told them not to talk to me
Oh,
because they think it's some kind of scam
yeah.
trying to take their
Yeah.
money. But that's because, I'm contacting a lot of people within the same family unit. And so that makes them a little bit nervous, especially with older people. But I think if you're just reaching out because you're looking for specific information for your family tree, it's a little less suspicious
Hmm.
than the
Hmm.
way I have to do it. And so I use this method for everything, for finding my own family, for doing my repatriation cases. And it was just an honor too, because and I do have this in the book. I dedicated it to my grandfather, and his brothers were all killed in World War II. And one of those brothers has not come home. His body has not been returned.
Oh,
And so I hope that, and a case was opened on Edmund. And so I'm hoping that perhaps it wasn't the company that I worked for, it was a different one. And they called me and they said, hey, guess what? I know what
Oh,
you
wow.
do. We have opened up a case on him now. Who should we contact? So I was able to give
and you're
them
like,
I was able to give him all the contact information. He didn't have children, so there was no direct, like many of the soldiers. They didn't marry before they went overseas,
Hmm.
and so there's no direct descendants left, and so or at all, because they didn't have children. And so I dedicated the dedication is for them, and especially to him, in hopes that, but somehow by helping other people find their families, I can pay it forward so we can find him and bring him home. So
yeah, I'm like
Awesome.
Mary. I'm very curious because when you read these stories of the battles that took place in World War II, like they were abandoned villages or whatever,
mhm,
and some of them,
mhm,
it was just a bloodbath,
mhm.
and that they figured out who was killed in action and got, I mean, it's always like most of it, they'll just say it was in this.
Well, and their
I
mass
shouldn't say
graves. I love it. Yeah, yeah,
I shouldn't say most of it. I should say in what I've read,
yeah.
it's like they'll say it was during this battle which lasted this many hours. But
Hmm.
they don't have any more details than that. So I'm just be really curious how they go
Yeah,
back after all these years.
yeah,
I know you
yeah.
can't tell me. I'm not asking you to tell me, but I'm just very curious about like how that process works that
Process
they.
works. And they do have a process as they go, and they go to battle areas and they see, they do some archaeological digs to see if there is anything there to test. And what's really interesting is they want the maternal DNA because they test the bone marrow, because for a lot of them there's not a lot left of these remains, and they want specifically the mtDNA, because they test the bone marrow. They do want the Y DNA as well, but they're really interested in that maternal DNA. So if you ever get a phone call from somebody asking you to help out with a soldier, please, or a letter, please know it's legitimate. And if you ever get a letter from somebody saying, will you please help me out with, I think we're related in this way, help me out.
Hmm.
Do work together with people and enjoy the journey together. So that's my,
Yeah,
get out
Yeah.
there, help one another.
yeah,
Yeah.
You
I
find
agree.
someone that is your cousin,
Mhm.
share something with them. I mean, that's something you can
Exactly.
do in the letter. I sent this
Absolutely.
person his
Yep.
great great grandmother's marriage
Yeah.
record
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Send them
that was
something, and I like to also add a family tree so they can understand where, because sometimes you are contacting people that are far away. They're down the tree a couple of generations, two or three times removed, but they still have that information. You don't know in families where things were passed down and who
Hmm.
has what. you
Hmm.
know and so let them, show them. Don't just say, I think we're connected through your grandma or your great grandma, our great grandma. Show them the tree, show them how you're connected, show them that you're legitimate, you know what you're talking about, And like Mary said, send them a record. Send them a record to show, that you know what you're talking about and you are interested in working together and getting some help. So
Love it. Thank you for writing this and putting it together. I think it's going to be a great guide for people.
thank you.
Looking at all different things. Like I said, you guys gave me some great ideas. So thank you
Oh,
for writing
good.
it.
I'm
I know it
glad.
just ruins some of the genealogy marketing where people say, I love looking for dead people, and now we're going to change the t-shirt.
That's right. That's right. That's
Just like
right.
you're looking for living people to help you with the dead people.
That's right.
So, and it's just when people say, what's the difference? Well, the difference, there's really no difference. You're doing the same thing. There's just different websites you can use. There's different tools that you can use to look for living people. And some that you didn't even probably realize existed on the websites that you're already using,
Mm-hmm.
and different ways to use those websites that you never thought about. They give you clues, even. And one of the tips, I'm not going to tell you, but I'll tell you. I'll give you a clue. I'll give you a little hint. You can even use people that are marked as deceased to find the living people. So anyway,
Get the book. Read it.
get
There's
the
some great
book.
tips.
I remember that one.
Get
I know where she's going with that.
So get
Uh,
the links will be in the. I feel so weird doing this. The links will be in the blog post and on the YouTube video. So
And they can buy an ebook or an
or
actual paper book.
yeah, or the
Hard
paper.
copy. That's the word I'm looking
Hard
for.
copy, which is and it's not very it's not very it's not very big. It's
mhm.
an easy read, and I'm hoping and I wanted it to be an easy read. I wanted it for people to be able to understand. I didn't want anything really technically advanced or anything like that. I wanted just the average everyday genealogist to read it, not you don't have to be a genetic genealogist to do it, to find people. I just wanted people to be able to understand these techniques and anybody, whether you're just beginning your tree and you need to find people, or you're back a few generations and you're like, I need some help with this. I need other people. I need to do some DNA, but I got to find the people, or I need to see who's got things that I don't have. So I just wanted it to be an easy way, an easy read, and just an easy way for people to understand how to find the living. So
Great job.
oh,
Yep.
thank you guys. I appreciate your support. I really do. I appreciate you making me do this because it feels weird. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And with that,
Wonderful job.
Yeah.
say that again.
Wonderful job.
Oh, thank you, Mary. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And with that, we will see you next time on GenFriends. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.